talk about 6 different aspects of mindfulness on the body. We talk about mindfulness on the breathing in and breathing out, mindfulness on the breath of the body, then mindfulness on body postures, the 4 body postures. We also talk about mindfulness on clearly comprehending bodily activities. Whatever activities body does, we clearly comprehend bodily activities. Then mindfulness on bodily elements of the body, basically the 4 basic elements of earth, Prithvi, Apo, water, Vayu, wind, and Tejo, fire or heat element. Prithvi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu, these are the 4 elements, basic elements of the body. Now these are something that you will realize in your practice. As you develop your mindfulness, you become more aware of these elements of the body. You can become aware of the water element by way of your sweating and your saliva and urine and all the other fluid elements of the body. This is how you become aware of water element. The earth element you can become aware of, all the solid parts of your body, and you contemplate the hair of the head, hair of the body, right down to the brains. All these are the organs, the tissues of the body. They are earth elements. They belong to what you call properties of earth element. Then in the 32 parts of the body, there are 20 earth elements, or 20 solid parts, and 12 liquid parts. All the liquid parts belong to the water element. Then we talk about the heat element, Tejo Dhatu. Tejo is the heat element. Then you can experience yourself. Sometimes you find heat in certain parts of your body becomes more conspicuous. Just observe it. Just when it comes to being, when your mind, when you become aware of it, just be aware of it and understand this is a heat element. That's all. So that there is no attachment, there is no aversion to these elements. Just see it as it arises. The other thing is the wind element. The different gaseous elements in the body, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and depending, there are various kinds of other gases. Just as you eat the food, you breathe in and breathe out, but the food that you take in, it's also shared by not only you. There are many other organisms also share the food in your body. There are hundreds and thousands of other living beings, small ones. They are called bacteria. There are some useful bacteria and some not so good ones. And they also live on the food that you eat, and they also breathe in and breathe out. When they breathe in and breathe out, they also leave some pockets of gases here and there. And that is why when you have such gases there, then it can create certain problems for you. So these are the bodily winds or gases. These are the 4 basic elements. When you study carefully, you see earth element gives rise to solidity, water element is the fluidity, cohesive properties, stickiness. Then the fire element, the heat, the temperature, and the wind element, motion, movements. body becomes stiff. What is this wind element? You're breathing in and out. It's a wind element. If you stop that, then the body becomes stiff, cannot move. Right? But don't try that. Then we also talk about the 32 parts of the body and 9 symmetry contemplation. These are the 6 different aspects of mindfulness on the body. Can you remember again? The first one? Breathing in and breathing out, right? Mindfulness on breath. Second, posture, 4 bodily postures. Third, mindfulness on the 4 elements, right? Fifth, mindfulness on 32 parts of the body. And sixth, mindfulness on the 9 symmetry contemplations. Now these are the 6 different aspects of mindfulness on the body. Then mindfulness on feelings. The second foundation of mindfulness is mindfulness on feelings. Feelings, when whatever feelings arises, you can notice that the feelings are, you can categorize or divide them into 3 classes. There are feelings which are pleasant, some are unpleasant, and others neither pleasant nor unpleasant feelings. These are the 3 types of feelings that you can experience, right? Then mindfulness on the mind, mindfulness on thoughts or the states of your mind. You become mindful. What is your mental state? Whether you have a concentrated state of mind. That is what, when you develop your mind, you start to develop your mind first. If your mind is conditioned by craving tendency or lustful desires, you know that the mind is of a lusty nature. If the mind is conditioned by anger and you are angry mind, agitated mind, you must know that that mind is agitated at that moment. When you have a confused state of mind, you must become aware that the mind is now confused state. The moment you become aware that it is a confused state, that you have mindfulness, that is how you can get out of that state of mind. Understand? So, when you develop your mind, you will find that when you are developing your mind, you narrow down your concentration, and your concentration becomes very focused and narrowed down. You know your mind is shrinking then. When you develop further your mind begins to expand now. You know your mind now is grown in what you call in scope. And then when your mind develops the different states, the different mental absorptions, you know, you are aware of these different states, developments of your mind. And you are also aware that when your mind develops to a certain extent, you know that you can still go further like that. So these are ways by which you develop the mindfulness on the mind, the states of your mind. Then you go on to mindfulness on Dhamma. Now what are the Dhammas? There are certain Dhammas. In particular, with regards to the development of your mind, there are the Dhamma with regards to the 5 mental hindrances. What are these 5 mental hindrances? These 5 mental hindrances refer to Kama Chanda, which means sensual desire. Vyapada refers to aversion or anger. Tina Midda, sloth and torpor of the mind. Udacha Kukucha, restlessness of the mind. And Vichikicha, doubts. These are the 5 mental hindrances. contemplate on Dhamma, you contemplate on these 5 mental hindrances. First, you observe whether these hindrances are present in your mind. If they are present, you know that they are present in your mind. If these mental hindrances are not there in your mind, you know they are not present. You know how they arise and how they cease. So, this is how you develop your mindfulness on observing Dhamma with regards to first the five mental hindrances. Can you remember the 5 mental hindrances? First one is Kama Chanda, sensual desire. Okay. Second is Vyapada, or aversion, anger. Third, Tina Midda, sloth and torpor of the mind. This is the quality of the mind. When the mind becomes sloth and torpor, there is an inertia, the mind refuses to think, refuses to apply the thought. Then after that, when there's sloth and torpor, this sloth and torpor, as soon as it arises, it conditions drowsiness, sleepiness and drowsiness to come in. That's what you call sloth and torpor of the mind. Then restlessness, udacha kukucha, refers to restlessness. This restlessness is due to, there are a number of causes for restlessness. The root cause, of course, being that of craving. You have craving, you have aversion. When there are a lot of desire in your mind, you naturally will have a lot of thoughts. Similarly, if you get angry, and in an angry state of mind, a lot of thoughts also will arise in your mind. Right? So, condition. This, not only that, worries, anxieties, and remorse. If you have done something wrong, then there are thoughts, many thoughts in your mind. Right? You do something wrong, or you have not done something that you should have done. If you have not performed your duties, certain responsibilities, you feel a certain remorse in you. Then this is where in our practice, in our day-to-day practice, we have what you call admission of shortcomings. And this is actually a tradition maintained in a noble tradition. It's a noble tradition that you recited in the morning those verses. Okasa dwaratayena katang sabbang apradang kamatame Bhante. You say okasa. Okasa is a term where you get attention from the monk. Instead, in the ordinary sense, you say hello, hi, just to get the attention. Now, to get the attention of your teacher or your master is okasa. Okasa, usually they use okasa, Vandami Bhante. Venerable sir, may I pay, permit me to pay my respects like that. Now you say okasa, dwaratayena. It comes from dwara. Dwara means door. Taye. Taye means 3. Dwarataye. Dwaratayena is a grammatical function through the 3 doors. What are the 3 doors? Dwaratayena katang sabbang. Katang here refers to action. Sabbang means all. All actions performed through the 3 doors. What are the 3 doors? Kayena, vacha, chittena. Kayena. Through. Kaya means body, bodily actions. Vacha means speech. Chitta means mind or thoughts, right? So you say, O Kasa, Dwaratayena, through the 3 doors. Right? Dwaratayena. Katang sabbang apradang. Apradang are faults, mistakes. The faults or mistakes, all the actions, all the faults and mistakes that I have done through the 3 doors. What are the 3 doors? It says, Kayena, Vacha, Chittena. By my body, by speech, and by mind. Kayena, Vacha, Chittena, Apramadena. What do you say? Kayena, Vacha, Chittena. Okasa Doratena Katang Sabbang Aparadam Kamatame Bhante. Kamatame Bhante. Kamatame Bhante means, please forgive me. Understand? Forgive me. Then, actually, usually, the tradition is the teacher or the master will say, yes, I forgive you. And then he says, if there's any fault on my part, you must also forgive me. And that part, very often here, we leave that out. So, you, after that, you say, O Kasa, Kamame Bhante. The next part, in your mind, you must think, if whatever wrong you have done, I forgive you. Like, O Kasa, Kamame Bhante. Understand? Now, this is a wonderful tradition. This act of asking for forgiveness, what happens is this. During the day, you might not, you sometimes unintentionally you perform, you do some action, like by way of disturbing that some gestures of your body or sometimes speech. Sometimes you do it intentionally, but sometimes unintentionally you perform it, but you hurt others. You disturb others' feelings. Especially when you disturb or hurt the feelings of, your master, your teachers. Sometimes you unintentionally do it. You speak certain things, but you're not mindful, through lack of mindfulness. And also your actions, will say. Because different teachers are brought up in a different tradition. So, certain manners, certain customs, that is why when we invite certain masters, certain teachers, we try to study his customs, his tradition, so that to make him feel what you call at home, and to make him feel that, the respect that we try to observe certain customs and tradition. Then, otherwise, sometimes can create certain misunderstandings, right? Because they are used to certain customs and traditions like that. So it is a custom and tradition when a monk, when an elder monk, in the presence of an elder monk comes in, normally a junior monk will stand, or any lay people will stand. This is a custom in Sri Lanka. Also, in the custom where there are monks coming in, the lay people will stand. Of course, when you are meditating, we do not expect all of you to stand up. If you like, you can just in your kneeling posture, or just if you know that the teacher is coming, then clasp your hands. That's all. We can understand. No need for you to stand up. But if you are already, if you are not meditating, then stand up. Right? So this is a custom. If you do not do this, then sometimes the teacher may think that you do not, that you either that you disagree or what he teaches you, or you have some aversion for him. You see, that's why you like boycott him like that. You see? So sometimes that kind of feeling one may have. done anything that upset me, I will forgive you. This is the tradition, understand? That means you constantly free your mind from the burden of what you call carrying the burden of some kind of a remorse or guilty conscience. It's a remorse when you do something and if you feel that that person, you have hurt that person, then you keep on thinking and thinking and thinking, I do not know whether, he's upset with me or not, like that. Sometimes it is not a grievous offense, but it's just a mistake, a fault, you see. But it can create some misunderstandings, and you can get upset. So when you ask for forgiveness, listen, you do it sincerely, you will be able to free your mind from the burden, from the remorse. Understand? Karmically, if you have done something unwholesome, if you have what you call thought something very bad about your teacher or about that's karma. Karma is another thing, that you have to face the consequences of your karma. But even after you have performed this wrong, whether intentionally or sometimes unintentionally as mistakes, smaller mistakes, you find that your mind is troubled. The way to overcome that kind of trouble, we do forgiveness of shortcomings. And then the teacher says, yes, I forgive you in case you have done something wrong through the lack of mindfulness, I forgive you. If I also have done anything wrong to hurt or disturb your mind, please excuse me, like that. Huh? Then you say, yes, Master, Kamavi Bhante. This is a wonderful tradition, that to maintain and to do it meaningfully. Right? So now you understand this tradition. Now that frees your mind from remorse. And that udacha kukucha, the restlessness state of mind, you will be able to overcome, and because restlessness can also be caused by these remorseful thoughts in your mind. Then you have vichikicha or doubts. This refers to the skeptical doubts, doubts with regards to the Buddha. Those people who have very strong doubts about the Buddha's attainment, whether the Buddha really attained Nibbana or not, and doubts about the Dhamma, doubts about the Sangha, the attainments of the Sangha and their purity. Now these doubts they are mental hindrances as long as you have doubts. The doubts with regards to your practice also, the method that you are using, the technique that you are using, you sometimes doubt yourself. Sometimes you have doubts about your past. Even after you develop your mind, certain thoughts may come to your mind that whether what was I in the past? Huh? And what am I now? Like this. So these doubts, there are various kinds of doubts. So these are the 5 mental hindrances. First, sensual desire. Second, anger. Third, sloth and torpor of the mind. Fourth, restlessness. And fifth, what you call doubts. As long as these 5 mental hindrances are present in the mind, it is not possible for you to develop your absorption. It is not possible for you to develop Samma Samadhi. Samma Samadhi, you develop Samma Samadhi or right or perfect concentration after you have at least temporarily suppressed these 5 mental hindrances. Understand? So, these 5 mental hindrances, when you develop develop your mind, when you strengthen your mind by way of the devotion that you have, your faith or shraddha, and you exert energy, effort, virya. In fact, when you have confidence in the Buddha, the Dhamma, the Sangha, when you have confidence in your teacher, then naturally virya, energy, arise in you. That energy, that virya, you can divert to avoiding unwholesome thoughts to arise in your mind. And if any unwholesome thoughts have a reason, you overcome it. You have to use an effort to overcome it. And some good things that are not in your mind, you develop it. And those good things that are already present, you maintain it. So, just as when you are developing your mind, if your mind is not developed, you do not have that, you must try to develop those qualities of the mind and develop those higher states of mind, mental states, concentration. And those who have already developed that, you need effort to maintain it so that you do not lose what you have gained, what you have already developed. Now these are what you call effort. You direct these efforts to the practice of mindfulness. This is another factor of your mind. And when you develop this mindfulness, and when you have good mindfulness on the four foundations of mindfulness, that what is referred to, that concentration. Your mind begins to develop concentration through which you develop wisdom. These five things, shraddha or faith, confidence in the Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, virya, effort or mental energy, sati, mindfulness, samadhi, concentration, panya, wisdom. These are the five mental faculties. These five mental faculties, when you develop them well, that you will be able to overcome the mental hindrances. And when the mental hindrances are at least temporarily suppressed, then five jhana factors arise. Those of you who ask that question about jhana, what is this first jhana? Now, we talk about five jhana factors. What are the jhana factors? In your practice, we tell you to bring your attention to your breath. Focus your attention at one point and observe the breath in and out. And then keep your attention there. That bringing of attention to that one point, to that object, to the breathing in and breathing out, that is what we call vitakka. Vitakka means applied thought. Now, you are making a purposeful, what you call, decision to bring your attention there. There is an action of your mind, and you cause that factor to arise in your mind. It is called applied thought. The next thing you do is we tell you to sustain your attention there, to keep your attention there. That's what you call sustained thought, vichara. Vichara is the sustained thought. You keeping your attention there and you scrutinize, you observe carefully what is happening. In this case, when you are observing the breath, you are aware the breath, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, sometimes long, sometimes short. There is no need to note them, but your mind is alert, and while watching at this point, you know the nature of your breathing in and breathing out. That is how you sustain your attention there. By sustaining your attention there, you develop your awareness, your mind becomes more and more alert. If you do not observe the nature of this breath, if you do not scrutinize this, then your mind after a little while becomes dull, and then you feel very calm, and then your next thing is you go to sleep. Because it's very calm and peaceful. So your awareness, you lose that awareness. That kind of concentration without awareness is called miccha samadhi. Wrong concentration. There is right concentration and wrong concentration. So it is the concentration with awareness. That is what we call samma samadhi. You concentrate and you have awareness. You watch and sustain your attention there. Now you perform three things, three actions that you perform. One, you fix your attention at one point. Then you apply your thought there, and then you sustain it. After you have performed these three jhana factors, they are factors which arise. After you have caused these three factors to arise, then as a consequence, as a result of this action, this causes, you have effect. The effect is two factors would arise. After you have caused these three factors to arise, then as a consequence, as a result of this action, this causes, you have effect. The effect is two factors would arise. And these two factors arise, you have no control over it. They are called piti sukham. Piti is explained in terms of rapture. The kind of feeling, you got a good sensation, you find, but it is still somewhat gross sensation. Sometimes some of you feel some kind of a crawling sensation around your body, around your face. Sometimes you feel your body, what you call expanding, feeling very light. And sometimes you feel tears may fall down in your eyes, right? And there is sometimes it's like pins and needles, like pricking you, pins and needles, painful feelings like that. There are different expressions of deity. But remember, the method, the technique which you are now developing, you may not experience the full characteristics of the jhana because you only spare about 5-10 minutes in the absorption. Therefore, you may not be able to see it so clearly. It may be there, but you may not. It is there, but you may not be able to see it clearly. But when you stay a bit longer time, then you will experience these factors. They arise. Sukham. Sukham is, we use the word happiness or bliss. But at the experiential level, you experience sukham when your body starts to be at ease and your mind also to be at ease. Now, no more tension. Although the pain, the tension that you have developed, after a little while when you determine to get into the absorption, soon after you get into absorption, you find that now the pain is now bearable now. In a little while, as you stay a bit longer, you find no more pain in you. Right? Now this is that. So these 5 factors we call the jhana factors. Right? Vitaka, vichara, piti, sukha, ekaggata. Right? In the first jhana, you will experience these five, but ekaggata, one-pointedness, is not very sharp. More often than not, these four factors are more dominant. The last factor, the factor of ekaggata, one-pointedness, may not be so clear to you. Right? You experience, you have vitakka, you have the applied thought. That is why in the first jhana, you still observe the breath going in and out. In and out. You still observe in the first absorption. Vitakka, and still you have the sustaining thought is there. Vitakka vichara is there. Piti, you have this piti and sukham is there. Right? Your one-pointedness is not so clear. Sometimes there, sometimes not there, like that. When you enter the second jhana, then vitakka vichara goes away. Then you only have piti sukha. Piti sukha, they are clear to you. Ekaggata, the one-pointedness, is not so strong, but it's stronger than the first. So, the more conspicuous sensation that you find, piti, sukha. That is why in this second jhana, as you develop the second jhana, if you stay there for a little while, 10, 15 minutes, you will experience stronger piti. You see? And sukham, body is at ease now. Then, when you go to the third jhana, you have the sukham, ekaggata. Your mind has gone out of the body. You experience a kind of pleasant sensation, sukham, right? Ease, at ease. And your mind is also now in focus. In the fourth absorption, now the jhana factor of sukham now goes away, leaving you with only ekaggata. Now your mind is one-pointed, your mind is the steady equilibrium state, one-pointedness. You see? So this is how one experiences, one develops. Those who have a mind that is sharp to reflect and to observe these factors, you can verify it. Otherwise, it is actually not necessary to have this knowledge. There's another way of developing jhanas. This other way of developing jhanas is by observing these characteristics of jhana. When you come to know that these characteristics have a reason, then you understand that you are in this absorption, this absorption, this absorption. And when you are in the first absorption, you find that this first absorption is not stable. It stays there a little while, it comes down, stays and comes down. Then you can see the unsatisfactory nature, you can see the transient nature, the change, the impermanence of this state of mind. Seeing this unsatisfactory state of mind, you determine to go one step further. You go to the second, and then you go to the third, and you go to the fourth. That is another way of developing jhanas. And seeing the unsatisfactory, seeing the transient nature of the states of mind, you develop samadhi as well as the vipassana samadhi. You see the transiency. In your case, you just go in a very simple manner of going to 1, 2, 3, 4, like that, right? And without having to analyze these jhana factors. These jhana factors that we talk about the jhana factors, they only arise as when you have at least temporarily overcome the defiling tendencies, the mental defilements, the 5 mental hindrances. So observe these mental hindrances as when they arise. Those of you who cannot concentrate, you must know why you cannot concentrate. What are the causes? Now, we tell you to do the practice contemplation on the 32 parts of the body. That helps you to overcome the mental hindrance of karma, chanda or sensual desire, isn't it? Then we tell you to practice loving kindness or metta. That practice helps to reduce and overcome the tendencies of aversion, right? Now that leaves with you the other 3 tendencies of sloth and torpor, and what you call sloth and torpor, restlessness and doubts. Now, we help you to overcome your doubts by giving you this kind of talks, Dhamma. By giving you Dhamma from time to time, that you begin to have some knowledge, some understanding of Dhamma, so that as and when you develop the experience, you see it. Yes, this is what I am told will happen, and this is how it has happened, right? So you overcome. You have no doubts whatsoever. This is how it helps you. The Dhamma that is given to you from time to time will help you to overcome doubts in your mind, right? And furthermore, you have the opportunity to go for interviews, so that whatever experiences, whatever doubts you have, you can clarify your doubts. That will help you to overcome doubts in your mind. Then the sloth and torpor of the mind, this is something that you have to watch yourself. If you sit and you feel sleepy and drowsy, you must understand what is the cause. Either you have not had sufficient sleep, you have broken rest, or sometimes you find always after a big meal, after a big breakfast, or a big lunch, you feel very drowsy and sleepy, isn't it? That is why when we want to practice samadhi, we must learn to eat less. Eat less. And eat just sufficient. And if you feel hungry, you drink. Your body becomes lighter. And that's why we go on a certain diet. Not too oily food. And not too heavy food like flour. You may like it very much, yes. But when you take those kind of flour and, you feel very heavy. In fact, those monks, they know very well if they are going out for chanting, they're going out for what you call certain spirit chanting to drive away certain evil spirits. They are told not to eat certain things. If they eat certain starchy food and very heavy food, their mind will be so, what you call a blur and so dull that they cannot chase away. These people will chase them out. So, watch. We cannot tell you exactly what to eat and what not to eat. This is something that you have to, more or less, by trial and error, and with your wisdom and with restraint, you judge for yourself. Right? If you think that, I am skipping one meal, then I must take 2 meals now. And when that lunch, I must take for dinner as well. Then you will find your practically your whole afternoon is gone. Because you feel so drowsy, you cannot work. I have had this experience before. That's how I started to, then you reduce your meal. Until sometimes when we practice a serious samadhi, I have seen how teachers eat very little, maybe just 5 scoopful of, rice, five, food, finish. I feel sometimes very funny. And sometimes they don't even take rice. We take fruits and juices, very healthy for samadhi, especially the yogis when they develop the samadhi. They live very light food. And you will be surprised that you can live. Only thing you become little skinny, that's all. Every time I go for retreat in the forest, although there are many food, there are lots of food, but seeing others take so little, I also decide to take little. And every time I come back, I become a little bit skinny. But now I realize it is absolutely not necessary to go on deep fasting and so on. Because you yourself can experience, you see within this 1 week, you have good meal. Only thing you skip 1 meal in the evening, but in the morning you eat and you have your breakfast, you have your lunch, and you can still develop your mind, isn't it? So this goes to prove that it is not necessary to go on that kind of extremes of practice, right? Middle path. But watch, when you find that sloth and torpor keeps on disturbing your mind, that you cannot concentrate, then reduce your food intake and then walk more, walk to and fro. And when you are walking, if you feel sleepy and drowsy, you walk fast, not slow. If you walk slow, you feel very drowsy, you might get dizzy and fall down. When you are sleepy, drowsy, you walk fast. Don't go to sleep, don't give up. Now you fight. This is what you call, you try to overcome. This is what you call the striving. The effort to overcome the drowsiness. You walk a little bit faster, to and fro, to and fro, to and fro. When we were practicing in the forest, you don't think that we sleep early in the night. Until sometimes we practice throughout the night, just to fight what you call drowsiness. One by one of these mental hindrances, we confront and fight them. So we put candle lights and walk. I saw how some of these monks, they have a walking path. And in the night they're walking fast, like running like that, to and fro. I say, what are they doing? Later I learned that's how you fight drowsiness. So I did that, and I find how the drowsiness at certain times, really the drowsiness, very strong sloth and torpor come in, the drowsiness come in. But you go on, don't give up, you go on. As you walk faster, you find suddenly the drowsiness gone, your mind bright like anything. You are very much awake. And similarly, if you overcome your drowsiness, when you sit now some of you are feeling drowsy now because of what you have eaten. Now when you keep on listening and you pay attention, that's one of the purpose why we interrupt you with your practice, give you this talk, otherwise some of you will be sleeping now. Where is it? Now by listening to this talk, by having to sit, you listen, your drowsiness gone. Now you can get to your practice. Understand? That is how you must learn how to overcome this drowsiness. As for what you call udatta kukucha, restlessness in your mind, You have this practice of what you call asking for forgiveness of shortcomings so that you free your mind from whatever remorse and also, when you talk a lot, now remember that you are here, you develop your mind to get into calmness, to get into concentration. But you must know that your tendencies, 1 week before you came here, you have been a chatterbox, right? You like to talk, and also your mind was running here and there, here and there. This is the tendencies of your mind. And now you are arresting it, you're keeping it quiet, you are using it, you're controlling it, you're restraining it. After you develop a little bit and you start talking, now you start getting back to your past habit. Your past habit comes very quickly to you. Now this is how you get your thoughts back. You get a lot of other thoughts coming back to you. Understand? So that is why we discourage you to talk and discourage you to what you call talk too much. If you want to talk a few words just to make certain things clear, to get certain instruction, yes, but not to tell stories, especially grandmother's stories out of place here, alright? And live what more of your experiences also. No need to tell these things. We will call you up, we'll give you time, yes, and before the end of this novitiate program, we'll call you up one by one to tell your experiences, right? Now, then, these are the hindrances, sloth and torpor, which you try to overcome, and restlessness. If you have control, if you practice 32 parts of the body, metta, you would have reduced greed, aversion to that extent that will help you to overcome that restless thoughts also. Understand? So you see these 5 mental hindrances. This practice that you are doing, this technique involves the cutting off these mental hindrances. That's how you can very quickly develop your absorption. Understand? Okay? So, in the Dhamma, when we talk about mindfulness on Dhamma, we talk about the 5 mental hindrances. We talk about 5 aggregates. You know the 5 aggregates? The aggregates of form, rupa, the aggregates of feeling, vedana, the aggregate of perception, sanya, the aggregates of mental formation or volitionary activities, sankhara, and the aggregates of consciousness or vijnana. We talk about these 5 aggregates. And where does these 5 aggregates, how does these 5 aggregates arise? They arise through your sense doors, right? From what you see something and then you think. You hear something and then you think, right? That's how those thoughts arise. And in those thoughts you find the 5 aggregates arising in your mind. So we learn how to contemplate and analyze these 5 aggregates, that what you call Dhammanupasana. Then the 6 bases. 6 bases, what are these 6 bases? You have heard again and again. Eye base, ear base, nose base, tongue base, body base, and mind base. These are called the 6 bases, right? It is through these 6 bases that you receive stimulus from outside. And you observe these 6 bases. This is how you call observing Dhamma. Then you observe 4 noble truths. You know what the 4 noble truths which we talk about. Dukkha, unsatisfactoriness, the cause of it, the end of it, and the path that leads to the end of it. And then 7 factors of enlightenment which we shall talk about tonight or later. Dhamma, when we talk about Dhammanupasana, Dhammanusati, that means mindfulness on Dhamma. Yes, you develop your mindfulness on 5 mental hindrances to see whether they are there, whether present or not. Then you see the 5 aggregates. Watch the 5 aggregates. Contemplate on the 5 aggregates. Then the 6 bases, 4 noble truths, and the 7 factors of enlightenment. That covers the whole field of what you call the 4 foundations of mindfulness, right? So you understand, when we talk about 4 foundations of mindfulness, we talk about body. There are these different aspects of mindfulness on the body. There are 6 different aspects of it. We talk about feeling. There is 3 kinds of feelings, pleasant, unpleasant, neither pleasant nor unpleasant. And then we talk about the mind, how you develop mindfulness on the mind, observing the state of your mind, whether there is greed, there is hatred, there is delusion in the mind, and whether the different, what you call concentrated states of your mind. If your mind is not concentrated, you know it's not concentrated. If it's concentrated, you know it's concentrated. If you can still go higher in your concentration, you know there is still room for development, like that. Then you observe Dhamma. Dhamma refers to, in this case, it refers to the 5 mental hindrances, the 5 aggregates, the 4 noble truths, 6 bases, 4 noble truths, and 7 factors of enlightenment. Now you want to take numbers and buy lotto. Okay, then now this is what the 4 noble truths, what are the 4 foundations of mindfulness are. Try to understand this well, because in the later part of your practice, in fact, from now on all the time, you will be dwelling within. You will be dwelling, you must dwell in mindfulness, like this, when you're walking, when you're, right? So that in your final stage, all this practice of sati will become mature, and it will just mature in your mind, and you begin to see it unfold, you see. Now, I will just read to you, for those of you who still have some doubts about this development of jhana, in the Satchavibhanga Sutta, this is a discourse which Venerable Sariputta gave at the Deer Park in Benares. The Sariputta, after listening, because the Buddha has declared the Venerable Sariputta as one who is chief in his ability to expound the Dhamma. Sariputta, after listening to what the Buddha preached, the first sermon, then Sariputta explained step by step and defines what these 4 noble truths, what the Noble Eightfold Path is about. And this is what he has to say with regards to the development of Samadhi. Katamocha vuso avuso samma samadhi. Idavuso bhikkhu viviccheva kamehi viviccha akkusalehi dhammehi savitakkam savicharam savekajam piti sukkam patama janam upasampajja viharati. Now, this is what he says. What is right concentration? Herein among aloof from sense desires, aloof from unwholesome thoughts, attains to and abides in the first meditative absorption or jhana, which is detachment born. and accompanied by applied thought, sustained thought, joy and bliss. This is what these factors are, the jhana factors are. It very clearly explains to you, and then it goes on to say, by allaying, by giving up applied and sustained thought, he attains to and abides in the second jhana, which is inner tranquility, which is unification of the mind, devoid of applied and sustained thought, and which has joy and bliss. Those of you who cannot get into the second jhana, you often make the mistake. You have to check that when you are observing your breath, and when you're determining to get into the second absorption, you determine it from your first. You get out, as soon as you get out of the first absorption, in the upachara, you make a determination to go to the second. And when you go to the second, you don't try to observe the breath in and out, right? Because the breath by then has become very subtle. What you do is just focus your attention at that one point. Focus your attention, rather. If there is slight breathing, good. If there is no breath, never mind. Don't worry, right? But keep your attention there. And don't take your attention up. You find that your mind has gone up and you follow your mind and keep your attention up. No. Keep your attention down here. Focus. So that's how you have your focus. And with this focus, with this control, you cause your mind to develop further. Understand? Then your mind goes up. Because in the second jhana, when you enter deeper and you spend longer time in the second jhana, you will find that there is this breathing in and breathing out, you will not be able to find it. Understand? Vitakka vichara, applied thought and sustained thought has gone away. You experience piti sukham, and your mind, you have that one-pointedness, but it is not so obvious with that. Then after that, by detachment from joy, that piti, you don't cling on to your piti. Whatever's kind of rapturous feeling that you observe, sometimes your body, you feel very good and you start walking forward and turning around like that. That's piti. Now, when you want to develop further, this piti, this kind of sensation, also you must see as anicca and let go of it. When that goes away, then you find that he dwells in equanimity, mindfulness, with clear comprehension, and enjoys bliss in body, and attains to abide in the third jhana, which the noble ones call dwelling in equanimity, mindfulness, and bliss. You have bliss, you have happiness, you abide in mindfulness of the object, and your mind have bliss. You have the good feeling. May you all attain the